Today's speaker is Shaya Tenenboim. He's a rabbi,
Yes.
and that's I don't know about him. So I'll let you talk about yourself, and hopefully we'll have some questions.
About myself, about what I'm saying.
Yes, I'd like to know about you too.
Okay, I actually introduced myself last year. I'm a Jewish rabbi, Orthodox. I'm the only one in this area, a Jewish Orthodox rabbi. I was born and raised in Israel. You can tell on my accent. And I want to apologize, my English is not the greatest. I'll try to express myself the best I could. I was an assistant rabbi in South Florida. However, I decided, my wife and I, and our 4 children, moved from South Florida to this part of Florida, which is known more as LA, Lower Alabama, for the reason that South Florida was too Jewish. What I mean to say is we are Chabad. If you heard of Chabad, it's an outreach organization. It's a Jewish organization. However, as I'm going to speak today as a universal message, we're teaching everyone who just wants to open their mind and study. In South Florida, there are so many Jewish organizations and synagogues and temples and rabbis and kosher stores and kosher restaurants, and I felt like I'm doing maybe good things, but mostly for myself, trying to get people to come to my congregation instead of going to another congregation, which is not what I am, what I feel that it's my mission in life. However, in this area, there is a lack of Jewish resources, and we moved here. We opened what's called the Chabad House, a Chabad center, which includes a synagogue in Destin. We have one synagogue, as you mentioned. Those who are interested, there's an airport road right off the 98, and we do not just synagogue, but many other things, whatever it's needed for as a Jewish organization. So that's what I'm doing here. That's what I pretty much what I stand for. Before I continue, if you want to attack me with any questions.
Are you still supported by the Israeli organization?
I'm not supported officially by anyone. I do get some help from the center, from the headquarters of Chabad in New York. However, mostly comes from the community. The community supports, people donate towards our activities, and this is how we support ourselves financially.
Are you from a line of rabbis?
Sorry?
Are you from a line of rabbis, your family?
There are. My father is not officially a rabbi, so my grandfather, they could have been. But they have the knowledge, but they don't have the position. Back in our family history, yeah, we do have great rabbis.
Where is your family from?
Father side from Hungary and mother side Russia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How do you spell Chabad?
C-H-A-B-A-D.
What is it again? What?
C-H-A-B-A-D.
What does it mean?
Oh, this is a speech for myself. I can close my book. Chabad, it's an acronym of of 3 words in Hebrew: Chokhmah, Binah, Da'at, which means wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. This is the official translation. My poor knowledge in English would translate it a little bit different. Maybe more wisdom, understanding, and recognition. Not because knowledge is just information, according to my knowledge. Knowledge is information, but that, the third word, is a very important one in our brains, in our understanding, is, as it explains in length in the philosophy of Chabad, which goes back in 7-8 generations ago, started in Russia, the movement of Chabad. The teaching is that the human being is made out of general three categories, three parts of our soul, which is the knowledge, the intellect, the emotions, and the action. And they are affecting one another. If you understand something well, this is how your emotions will react, and most likely this is how you are going to conduct yourself. Therefore, Chabad took as the main project of Chokhmah Binah Dat, which is three kinds of intellect: wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, recognition. Knowing if the person will get the right knowledge and not just get it as an information of something interesting, but will take it seriously and think about it and meditate and really bring it into the brains to become part of the person, the emotions will react the same way, and the person will go ahead and do the right, will behave in the right way. So it's all about knowledge, and this is what we are doing here today.
How long have you been in the U.S.?
12 years, about.
During your talk today, are you going to tell us any differences between the Christian interpretation of the Old Testament and the Jewish interpretation of the Old Testament? Or will you get into that today?
I'm not going to speak about other religions.
No, not about other religions, but just the interpretation of the Old Testament.
You're talking about an interpretation of other religions of the Old Testament.
Yes.
I'm not going to get into it. I'm just going to bring up an idea of the way of the Judaism, teaching and message to the whole world. And as we, the Jewish people, the minority in the world, we look at everyone else. What do we have to say? Well, any other questions, so we can go on?
Can you tell me about fasting and how often you fast and what you base that on?
You make me hungry.
Do you fast once a week, and what
No.
scripture?
No, it's actually, it used to be much more often when people, as in the Jewish tradition, it says that back in the generations, people were much stronger. And it was recommended to fast once in a while for whatever reasons, for spiritual reasons. However, in our generations, we are not capable to fast too much, and it's considered not something positive, but the opposite. It can bring to damage your health, to damage your mood, to damage your functioning. So it's not recommended. Just in those very few days a year in the Jewish calendar that are obligated. The famous one is Yom Kippur, 10 days after the New Year. New Year is Rosh Hashanah. 10 days later, it's a day of atonement. So it is obligatory to fast. As I said before, it was, and it is, I'm lacking the word, originally a great thing, which brings you one level higher and more spiritual. However, if we are not capable to do it and we still do it, it's not considered a positive thing, it's considered a sin.
You mentioned minority. Are you considering Orthodox being a minority or Judaism?
The Jewish people as
You're in
a
Israel
whole.
as an Orthodox. Do you feel like you're a minority among the minorities, or how is that?
Within the Jewish people, you say the Orthodox, they are also, they are a minority. However, the way I feel, especially a Chabad person, I don't feel that, how can I express it? I don't feel I am the minority and a majority and we are fighting or any politics, although there are politics like everywhere else, but we try to find the things that we have in common, and that's the truth. Everyone has to find the way they are, what we have in common, what we have, how can we get along and do things together.
What's the concept of the Day of Atonement, and what do you do, and how are your sins atoned for?
This goes back about 3,300 years ago, when the Jewish people were in the desert. We just read it in the weekly Torah portion. Torah is the Hebrew expression for Bible. We read every week, every Shabbat, every Saturday morning, we read the portion in the Torah. And last week, actually, just last Saturday, we read about the golden calf, as the Jewish people sinned what's considered the greatest sin of history. And God was very angry, as they said, right 40 days after promising to be loyal to God and do everything. Moses went up to heaven. They didn't know where he is. They lost. It was a mistake and was some. I'm not going to go into all the details. That the Satan came around and gave them some different ideas and said that Moses died and some other people got into. And bottom line, they did what's considered the worst sin, idolatry. They created the golden calf and bowed down to it and so on. God was ready to shut down the business. And Moses, as a great leader, as we can all learn from him, prayed to God and said, don't do it. And he was trying to use all reasons and excuses. He brought the memory of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And he said that he gave all different excuses and reasons for God not to destroy the Jewish people. And when he felt that this is insufficient, he went ahead and said, if you forgive them, okay. If you don't forgive them, take me out of the Torah. Erase my name from your book. Putting himself in a danger, saying so to speak, that his life project, the Torah, the teaching, God can take the offer and say, okay, I'll close the book, I'll erase you and the Jewish people together. But God said, if you are so loyal to the Jewish people, I'm willing to forgive them too. And when the second time, actually the third time, when Moses went on the mountain and he got the second set of tablets, this was on Yom Kippur. And then God said, I completely forgive them. Before he was willing just to hold back the punishment. But the sin was still there. And Yom Kippur he said, now there is a new level of mercy. And this level of mercy appears in the world, not just back then in the original Yom Kippur, but every year when Yom Kippur comes, there is it's a merciful day. It's a day that God is willing to look at us on a higher level. as your child might sometimes do things that you are very upset with. But when it comes to a situation, maybe if your child is in danger, you will say, after I'll put everything aside, it's my child. Deeper a little bit, but this is the general idea of Yom Kippur. So God is doing so much to us during this day. We do, on our part, we have to meet ourselves to such a high level, and we pray the whole day, we don't eat, we forgive each other, we ask for forgiveness from each other, which is also a very important kind of a way to ask God for forgiveness. This is mainly what Yom Kippur is all about. Obviously it goes deeper and deeper, but it's not the time right now.
You said that at the time of Moses, that adultery was the greatest sin? Oh, okay, because it was confusing to me. Okay.
Well, yes, you can.
I'm
I was
sorry.
gonna say that we're probably in
I had
there.
it as adultery.
And he fast from the whole day or just?
24 hours, actually 25 hours. Yeah, from the evening till the following evening.
Does that include water?
Yes. Believe me, it's not hard. It's not. It's people getting ready weeks before, but it's really, if you're just healthy, it's nothing. Especially that you are. There are some, as I mentioned before, there are some other fast days during the year. They are not come to the level of Yom Kippur. Obviously, I try to fast all of them. If I try, how do you know you try? Well, if you succeed, you try. So in the other fast days, sometimes it's hard. Comes the afternoon and you're really hungry and you open the fridge, and another time and you're starting to cook for after the fast. But on Yom Kippur, you're so busy from early in the morning. You study and you pray and you study and you hear a lecture or you give the lecture and you pray, and the day goes so fast that you don't even think about it. You don't even have time.
Sometimes I have heard that the Jewish religion doesn't believe in suffering after death. In other words, hell. But I just heard that. I don't know.
It's not true. It's not true.
Okay.
There are, it's a hard word in English. No. When you do something,
Punishment?
not punishment, but a better word. When you do something, there is an outcome. Exactly.
What is gas?
So, just 1 second. So, when you do something in this world, it has an effect. Either you are cleansing it, cleansing what the stain you have made in the world and the stain you made in your soul. Either you cleanse it yourself, or God helps you to clean it, which is uncomfortable. If otherwise, it has to be done after life. However, as we mentioned, God is merciful, and there are many ways. As it's important for us to know, as people who live here in this world, we have an effect, we have a say. We can help the judgment in the higher world. If once a relative passed away, as we like to say in Judaism, passed on. It didn't just disappear, it just passed on to another world. We want to make it easier for them, so we can pray, we can help, we can give charity, we can do whatever good deed in this world in the memory, for the sake of that person, and this will definitely help.
Thank you.
So are you saying you can have your prayers and things that your mom and dad passed away, and you can have prayers and that will help them?
Save them.
Yeah. Catholics have purgatory, and if you think somebody's in there, you can pray for them. It's probably the same idea, would you think? That
I'm
they,
not so knowledgeable in
be
Catholic.
forgiven.
If it's as you say,
Forgiveness. Yeah.
there are always forgiveness and mercy. and mercy. Yes.
So there's a heaven? Is that what you said?
Yes.
This forgiveness, is that really just ritualistic on the holiday, or do you ever see cases where you have two different parties that are bumping heads about something, and there is a real meaningful forgiveness, or one is really slighted the other?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Is this forgiveness just ritualistic that you do every once a year? You say, I'm sorry for everything I've done
But you
this year.
don't mean it.
Or is there a real meaning behind it?
It must be a real meaning, otherwise it's just words. God knows what's the truth. If you just say I'm sorry, but you're planning the day after to continue the fight, it's not.
But from your position, if you know that two parties are having some kind of a difference, you don't really see the results of it personally.
First of all, thank God I'm not God. So He sees what's going on in people's hearts, and He is the judge of the whole world. However, there is a nice story about a rabbi who lived also in Russia. He was a friend of the founder of Chabad. His name was Rabbi Shaya of Anipoli, and he, every night when he would go to sleep, he had a list of what he had done during the day. I guess the right side of the list and the left side of the list, and he would go through his day and say, this day was not good. Tomorrow will be much, much better. And he turned the page, and the next day, at night, he would say, this day was not good. Tomorrow will be much, much better. And the third day, and then he said to himself, but Zusha, you said it yesterday. You said that tomorrow will be much better, and you see what happened. Then he would think for a second and say, but now I really mean it. Yeah, there are always, there is no guarantee. It says in the Mishnah, in the oral tradition, do not believe in yourself until you die. You can't say, we are guaranteed, we are 100%, we are righteous, there is nothing. Every day is a challenge, every day is a mission. We have always the freedom of choice, which is very fundamental in Judaism. We are not animals. They are kind animals, they are mean animals. This is the way they were created. They are not judged. They are not punished, because this is the way they were created. They are not rewarded for doing good things. This is the way God created them, and this is how they function. However, the human being has, every individual has the right, the freedom to make the choice, and they cannot blame it not on their parents, not on the teachers, not on everybody around them. But you have to take responsibility for your action. So if you do something good, you are rewarded because you did it. It's not the way God created you. You have some people who are kind. You say, this is the family. This is the way they have a good nature. They have a soft nature. No, this is sometimes it's easier for some people. It's easier to do the right choice. Sometimes it's harder. But every person has the challenge, and it is, as I mentioned, very fundamental in Judaism that we have free choice, and in every single moment we can make the right choice. And sometimes choices we are, as I said, free, completely free. When I say free, they can be out of any frame. In other words, if I want right now, if I just decide, I can just turn over this table and start screaming and dancing, and it's my own choice, right? You will all think I'm crazy, and later he will take me to court, and I'll suffer so much, but I can still do it. However, most of the times I would behave the way that it makes sense, what the society expects me, what my parents expects me, what what my knowledge will tell me, but I'm capable to make decisions on my own, to make the choices on my own. This is the strong. So in extreme cases, a person will have so many reasons, 101 reasons to do the wrong thing. They can get up and say, I am in charge, and I'm going to do the right thing. Even though it's hard, even though I have all the excuses and reasons to say why I did the wrong thing, I can still. Therefore, if they did the wrong thing with all the excuses, they did it. They have to take responsibility.
How does one get to heaven?
By doing good things.
Well, is there some demarcation that this one did such bad things that he doesn't get to go, and this one, what?
There is one judge up there. But most of the times it's very poor excuse to say I didn't know. You lived there for many years, 90, 100 years, whatever, and you didn't find the time to see what's right and what's wrong, and say I did all my life wrong, and God, I'm sorry, I just didn't know. I was so honest, I was so naive. It's a poor excuse. We have to look for the truth, and we have to, most of the times it's very easy in front of our eyes, what's wrong, what's right, and to try to do the right thing, the good thing, even though it might be sometimes not so easy.
What is your concept of heaven? What is the afterlife going to be like?
It does say in the Jewish tradition that there is no imagination how great is this, and what is this like. All the prophets and all the sages, whatever they spoke about the future. They spoke about the future of the coming of Messiah. I'm sorry for bringing up this subject. I don't want to get into it. But the world to come in a spiritual sense, no one can imagine, can grasp what is this like. However, it does say different things in physical terminology, since we are physical people and we cannot understand pure spirituality. So it does say that people sit and study Torah, study the Bible, study God's wisdom, and so on. What does that mean? They don't sit on chairs. They don't eat and drink. It is a spiritual pleasure to the soul. The soul by itself, without the body is limiting the soul. And the soul by itself purely can enjoy greater things that the body cannot even comprehend. This is what it's all about. It is also important to mention that it's not just a reward. As in this world, if you fix my house, I give you a check of dollars. There is no connection between the wood that you took care of and the dollars that I gave you. However, in God's way of rewarding is you are making the fruits of your good deeds. This is what you're enjoying. When you do good things here in this world, you're affecting great things up there in the higher world. When you will be one day there, you will go to your own estate, to your own place over there, and enjoy what you have created for yourself.
But it's spiritual and not body.
Completely spiritual.
What did you say about chairs, the chairs?
It does say that they are sitting. The righteous people in the world to come, they are sitting and enjoying a God's presence. Sitting is a physical terminology. However, obviously it's not physical sitting. It means first it means being relaxed. When I stand, I'm more active. When I sit, I'm more relaxed. Which means also different things, deeper and deeper.
How would I know if you're married?
That's a good question. I have to ask my wife.
Orthodox Jew, being an Orthodox Jew or a Hasidic Jew, there is a difference, isn't there?
Between Orthodox and Hasidic?
Yes.
Hasidic is a sect in Orthodox.
Okay.
I am
Are they
Hasidic.
stricter or?
And not necessarily. Not necessarily. Hasidic, let's put it this way. As I mentioned before, Chabad is part of the Hasidic. There are hundreds of, maybe tens of other types of Hasidic movements. One of them is Chabad, maybe the most famous one. Has about 4,000 locations, 4,000 centers around the world. It's interesting. I mentioned before that I moved from South Florida here. It took us about 4 years to find the right place to open a Chabad center, because the world is just taken. You can't open a Chabad center. There is everywhere Chabad centers. You can just Google it and find Chabad everywhere. People, when they go on a business trip to the Far East, or when they go to a trip to South America, or wherever they go, and if they want a kosher food or services or anything, they just Google Chabad, they call, and we're coming. And so Hasidic is, it was a great rabbi by the name of Rabbi Israel Baal Shem Tov, and he was the founder of the Hasidic movement, and he brought about, the Orthodox was there all time, since Moses. But it was an era by the Jewish people when there was lack of happiness, lack of enjoyment of serving God. And he brought the Hasidic philosophy and elevated the spirit of many people, of thousands, and later with the years of hundreds of thousands of people, with the philosophy of Hasidism, saying that God is not just a king and a judge who is judging us and forbidding us from doing certain things, and he's like waiting for the moment we're going to sin and punish us, but he's more like a father with children, and so on. And we would bring the greatness of every individual by saying that every person is like a diamond, and even a diamond, sometimes when you find it, when you dig it, bring it out from the ground, it doesn't look like a diamond, but it is a diamond. Sometimes you have to polish it, just peel off the outside shell, and you will see inside what's there. And so on. The philosophy goes on. It's a very deep philosophy. I just give the most practical points. And this is what Hasidic is about. Hasidic means serving God with joy, with meaning, not just a robotic service, just doing and not enjoying it, not understanding it, and not understanding it. Okay.
You were a wedding band? That's what I was referring to.
I'm sorry?
Joy, you were a wedding band?
Myself, no. This is the Orthodox tradition. Women do, men don't. That's why we're not so pretty.
A number of years ago, I was doing some reading about Judaism, and I can't remember the details. I was impressed with the severity of punishment recommended for things, adultery being one, and I think maybe dietary was another. But there was a lot of things where you were supposed to be killed for it. And it's not done today, but I don't know.
It's not done today, and it was almost never done. It was done in extreme cases. Most likely, if you want to read the actual laws, you can do it personally later. It's done mostly in a situation that the person would want to die. If a person would just do things in the worst way and being warned that this is officially this is the punishment, and will still do it and say, I want it, I don't care. So it was very, very uncommon that this would be done. However, sometimes you have to warn, when you teach your children not to play with the outlet of the electricity, you don't tell them that it's uncomfortable. You tell them there is fire right there. You can die. So, they're not going to die, but they are going to keep a few steps away. This is pretty much the idea.
You have a temple or a synagogue here locally, in the local area?
I mentioned before in Destin, on Airport Road. Yeah, on Airport Road, right off the 98.
What about the one here in Fort Walton, though? Are you part of you, that's not it?
Yeah, it's Reform.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah, we are friends, but it's two different philosophies.
Could you explain a little bit the difference between the Reform and the Orthodox?
You understand English better than me. I respect and appreciate every person. They are Jewish, I feel we are one family. However, we, the Orthodox, continue the tradition of over 3,000 years. The same laws, the same teachings, the same behavior. And we, even though it might look sometimes strange, we still do the right thing. Believe me, to walk in Destin with this hat and jacket and the beard not so much, but... And people ask me if I'm Amish. Yeah. But I still do what my father used to do in Jerusalem, and his father used to do in Hungary, and back in the history. This is what Orthodoxy is.
In the Jewish community, what would it take to be recognized as a Jewish person? Religion, or ethnic, or both?
In Jewish religion, if you are born Jewish, you are Jewish for all your life. It doesn't matter what you do about it. If you want to become Jewish, if you are not born from a Jewish mother, by the way, it goes by the mother. If you are not born from a Jewish mother, even from a Jewish father, and you want to convert, if you ask me, don't do it. It's very tough. You have to take upon yourself all set of laws and change your lifestyle completely. And as I would, I don't know if we still have time to speak about why my original, it's not required by Judaism for other people to become Jewish. It's not recommended. You said before you want me to speak about what Judaism feels about other people. I specifically don't say about other religions, about other people. We believe that every person was created the way they were created. And this is the best thing they are supposed to do. I mentioned before this Rabbi Zusha. This Rabbi Zusha said, I am not worried that one day when I'll be in front of the judge of truth, God, he would ask me, why didn't you be like Moses or like Abraham? But he would ask me, why didn't you do like Zusha? You should have been the best Zusha you are. You're Zusha, you are created Zusha, this is who you are. You don't have to become someone else, but you have to be the best you are. So this is what my original thing. If you allow me, I'll just slide into it. And I got a phone call a few weeks ago from a chaplain of Fort Walton Hospice, telling me, usually when people remember rabbis is not a good sign. No. So he calls me and he says there are two Jewish men who want to see a rabbi. They want to see me finally. I would love to see them. One is a very sad situation. It's a very tough situation. I'm not going to go into the details. And I was right before a event, and followed by 2 weeks later a major event. I said, I'll call them after the weekend. He said, please, Rabbi, just maybe call at least the first person. Maybe just call them before the weekend and tell them, make an appointment with them. He said, okay. I called the first person. I went there, and it was very good. Unfortunately, the person is not with us anymore, but he was very happy to meet me, and we did what we were supposed to do. Okay. This week, Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, Tuesday afternoon, I thought to myself, we are over with the two events, and I didn't call the second person. Where is the information? What did I do? I didn't do anything about it. I didn't even call them. In the evening, I get a phone call from a lady saying, are you Rabbi? I said Tenenboim. It's hard to pronounce. You visit my father-in-law in this and this place? I said, who is your father-in-law? She said the name. I said, yes, I remember. I visited him about a month, 2 months ago. And she says, he's very ill. He is 104 years old. He's in pain. He's complaining all the time. He's praying to God for the day that he is ready to go. So, but she says it just days go by and he doesn't go, and he's upset, and we are uncomfortable. So I said, okay, I'll go to visit him. I went to my list, and I saw that this is the second person that the chaplain called me about. It was unbelievable. He called me about this person. I was thinking about him. I didn't do anything about it. A few hours later, she called me, and she wants me to. So, am I allowed to pray to God that this person should go? This is what the person wants. This is what his family wants. It's a hard question. Am I allowed to say, please God, take this person away?
You couldn't say, if it be thy will,
That's what I
and pray like that, but that he go,
Whose will?
God's will.
God's will. So if it's God's will, why do I have to pray? Does God need my permission?
I always say, I know you're busy with big stuff, but if it's in your power and it's in your plan,
If-
this guy's suffering, could we move it along? Would that be a bad prayer?
Why not pray if God is so busy and so great and so powerful? Pray for him that the person will get better.
Oh, he's 104, I don't think God's gonna be doing that.
Well, we can just pray that the right thing be done.
Yes.
There you go.
That's good. What do you have in mind when you say it?
I don't know.
Yeah, you don't get involved. Yeah, I mean. Okay, let me tell you, the good news is that I didn't have to pray for anything. I came the next day and met the person. He was so happy. And he was so lively. When I came to the bed, I thought this person is almost over. I hope he's not. And I tried to wake him up. I wasn't sure if I'm doing the right thing, but I said, usually, he told me, the nurses and doctors tell me that if I come to visit someone, they happy, so there's no problem. They have enough time to rest. So I tried softly to wake him up. Once he woke up, he said, Rabbi, hey. He remembered me from the time before. And he didn't complain of anything. He was so happy. It was so great. I went to see him yesterday again, and he was sitting in a wheelchair in the dining room. Thank God I didn't have to pray for anything that I don't feel comfortable with. Anyhow, they talk about a global warming. The globe is getting warmer and warmer. And the scientists and the different organizations and heads of countries, they get together and they think, what can be done? What's the problem if the world is getting a little warmer? I believe some of you, if you have a second home in the north, you're coming down here to have a little bit warm. The problem is that the ice in you say the poles, the North Pole and the South Pole will melt, and the oceans will overflow us. One day everything will be just one piece of water. I hope everybody has boats. So the good news is that it's not going to happen within our lifetime, but this is not enough. I have a better news. The better news is that there was about a little more than 4,000 years ago, the Great Flood. Noah was the only righteous person on earth. All the humankind, all the human beings in the world were terrible. Whatever they were used to do things how do you say, not human, they were just not normal society, and God decided to clean them all. And as it explains in Hasidism, as I mentioned before, that this was not just a punishment, but it was also a cleanse. They brought about so much negativity into the world that God was to just kill people, just can kill in many other ways, but he wanted to also clean the sins, the outcome, what they brought, the negativity that they brought into the world. It was 40 days of rain, and overflow of the how do you call the ground, the water from the ground, and over a year and 11, actually it's a solar year, it's a year and 11 days in the lunar year, 365 days that the world was flooded with water. The only person, the only family who was saved was Noah, his wife, his 3 sons and their wives. And God asked them to build an ark and to bring into the ark all the animals from the world. He didn't bring them, but miraculously they all came from every species, would come at least one couple, a male and a female. And this is how the generations, not only of mankind, but also of animals, continued. Beside those who were in the ark, everything was washed off, and after a whole year, Noah opened the ark. The water was already lowered. The ground was dry, and as it says, he saw a new world. In other words, this was not just a punishment. This was not just a taking care of the wicked, but this was reform of the humankind. In other words, God created the world and gave, as we spoke before, the freedom of choice to people. They abused it. They used it for the wrong things. And then God said, let me bring a new era to the world. New people will start from Noah. And these people will be educated. And right after that, he promised Noah a great promise, something very important. And he gave Noah a set of 7 laws. Not so many, 7 laws. And this is said, this is for you, for your children, and for all mankind. In Judaism, the humankind is called the sons of Noah, the children of Noah. Every individual, according to Judaism, according to the Torah, every individual in the world has an obligation to fulfill those 7 laws. They're not so hard to fulfill. They're not to fast 5 times a year. They are basic and beautiful laws. My English is not good enough to count them and express them. This is why I printed it out from the Chabad website. And if anyone wants, in the end of you are welcome to take one copy. You are welcome to go online to the Chabad.org and look into it and read about this and about many other and interesting things. God promised him, Noah, we still have time. God promised Noah, I'm not going to bring any more such a global flood. There were floods, small, relatively, here and there in the world. Unfortunately, things happen, not by a chance, but things happen. But God promised, and when God promised, this means that God Himself, so to speak, cannot break His promise. It is like binding Himself. I want to just touch on an interesting concept that people ask sometimes: can God create a stone that He Himself cannot pick it up? You ever hear it? If He's all, how do you say? He's capable to do everything. How do you say? All powerful. And He can do everything. Can He create such a rock that even He Himself won't be able to pick up? It's so heavy. First of all, it's a poor question, and God is not physical, and physical weight doesn't even count. But the concept, the idea, yes, God can create such a thing that He Himself cannot do it. In other words, He can bind Himself to a promise or to a situation that He Himself will never do. Like example here, He promised Noah, I'll never flood again the world as one, the entire world. And if one day we will be so wicked and we will do all the sins that they did back then and even more, because we are more creative, God will be so angry He won't be able to do it. He would be able to do it, but He won't be able to do it. Not because of any other force forcing Him, but He is, so to speak, forcing Himself. An example of a person that gets into a room and says, here, I'm not going out of this room for 100 days. Can't he just get up and go out? Could. But he can't. He promised. He is not going, by his own choice, by her own choice, they're not going to do it. Okay. There was a neurologist, a psychiatrist by the name of Viktor Frankl, was Jewish, but whatever.
I heard him speak once, and he was wonderful.
Yeah, great. I just read recently about him, and about a very nice idea and statement that he made. He said that in the United States of America, we have the Statue of Liberty in the East Coast. There should be on the West Coast a statue of responsibility. And I just found out recently that there is an organization, and the funding, and the state of Utah took it upon itself to, they took this project of building this statue. When it's going to be, maybe in 100 years, maybe in 200 years, but they are working on it. They took the idea seriously, that as much as the liberty is important, the freedom is important, but there must be a sense of responsibility. What does that mean, and how this affect these set of 7 laws? Most of the laws are very fundamental, very simple, and we would never do the other way. But we have to acknowledge, and we have to understand that we do that not just because we understand it, and it makes sense to us, and it's comfortable for us, but it's a decree of God. It's a law that another person, a being that is a little bit wiser and is a little different than us, and he said to do it. He's not our friend. For example, that person that I was asked to pray so we should die, or what happened in a situation that it is the person wants, either it's a situation of end of life, or a situation of a young person or unhealthy who wants just to commit a suicide. Suicide, how do you say? Suicide. Would I stop him? Person wants to kill himself. It's his right, no? Every person will say, call the police, try to do everything, stop it. Don't let the person kill himself. Why? If I don't kill other people, I'm sorry I'm going into killing, but I'm just bringing an extreme example. If I'm not going to kill people just because it's their right to live, and it's my right to live, it's their right to live. So if they want to take it away, why not? It's their right to live. Am I not stealing just because it's not a human, it's not nice to steal from someone else? What happens if it is nice? If it's a rich person who paid me for something and mistakenly gave me a $50 extra $50, and the person doesn't even know, doesn't even feel these $50, and I need it to feed my family, to feed my poor neighbor. Can I just keep it and use it? In human understanding, it can be right. It can make sense. And the truth is, if things are comfortable, they're starting to make sense. When I want something, even things that are wrong, are not the right things, if I really want it, my mind will come up with different ideas. That's the nature of the human being. That when I want really something, I'll slowly start to feel that this is the whole thing of you're not allowed to bribe the judge. It's one of the prohibitions of the Torah, never bribe a judge. Why? If a wise judge, he will do the right thing, the justice. But once you give money to the judge, he can't think right. The judge will always think towards you. There are wonderful stories, unbelievable stories in the Jewish tradition, how, I believe in other histories, in other traditions, how once a bribe was given to a judge, the judge was not even thinking right, was not able to. So we cannot just rely on our sense. We have to understand that our being here in this world is not just for fun. It's not just to enjoy life. The simplest proof is that most of most of our life is not so pleasurable. To enjoy a little bit of vacation, you have to work so many weeks, so many months. To enjoy a piece of bread, you have to work on it. So if God created the world for us just to enjoy it, He would make it just like paradise, like heavens. But in this world, we are here for a mission. I heard once a nice saying that, what's your birthday? What do you celebrate on your birthday? In Judaism, actually, it's important to celebrate one's birthday. It's a day of counting. It's like you own Rosh Hashanah. It's like you own New Year's. When you count what I have done in the past year, and like Rabbi Zusha said, this coming year will be much, much better. And even though I did it, I said the same thing in the past year. I heard once saying that your birthday is the day that God decided that the world cannot exist without you. Every person is here on this world not by a chance, not by accident. Some people sometimes think that I'm an accident of my parents. No. Your parents couldn't create a mosquito if not for God. If they created you, if you were brought in this world, it's for a mission. It's for a responsibility. And we have to understand whatever we do in this world has a meaning. So the person who wants to kill him or herself, God forbid, it's not their right. Their life is holy. Their life is a responsibility that God gave to them. It's not just a right to live, it's a responsibility to live. As long as we are alive, we have responsibilities to do. And if we act nice to each other and don't steal, and whatever the laws that you can later read here or go into the website, it's not just because it's so beautiful and it's important for our society. Society cannot exist without real foundations. Foundations of responsibility. And real foundations, real responsibility, one can only gain from believing God and understanding that these are laws of God, they are unbreakable. If I keep certain laws only when it makes sense to me, only when it's comfortable for me, and once it's not so comfortable, I forget about them, things can go wrong, and I don't want to go into details, but people probably remember what happened to the Jewish people in Europe 70 years ago. The Nazis, the Germans were so wise at that time. They were so ethical, were great musicians and doctors and philosophers and everything, and yet they came to such a, because the foundations was human understanding. And human understanding, you can play with it. You can give an excuse for everything you want. But if you understand that these are rules, life of another person is holy, is a gift from God. It's not even the person's right. It's the person's responsibility. How much more so is your responsibility to protect someone else's life. I didn't want to go into it. It's not such a happy thing, but just an extreme example that society must to have real foundations, foundations of responsibility, foundations of acknowledging that there is a God. This world is not a jungle. It's not an accident that was created for no reason by no one. It was created by someone for something, and we are here to do it and to accomplish it. Enjoy it. Any questions?
So, with
great flood, Noah and his family were all that was left as
Mhm.
far as humankind.
Mhm.
So all of us then came from Noah. At what point did we break off to the Jewish religion and the Gentiles? Where was that split?
It says already that even in Noah's generation, years later, it was a breakup of 70 nations. If you read in the scripture, it says all the names of the children of Noah and grandchildren became 70 nations, and this is the Babylonian tower where all the languages started, and they became different nations. However, Abraham, who was descendant of Noah, 10 generations later, he is considered the first Jew. Even though it was years before the whole thing of Egypt, before the Torah was given on Mount Sinai, but is considered the first Jew.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do the 7 laws of Noah complement the 10 commandments of Moses?
Some, yes, some not. If everyone wants. Maybe I'll give it to you when I leave, then they can attack me with all these different questions.
No, it's okay.
Could you tell us a little bit about a kosher kitchen in your home and how it's set up?
Yeah, kosher kitchen in today's world, it's much easier because, first of all, you just get kosher food. To be realistic, in this part of the country, is not kosher food is not so common. You have to search for it. In some other areas, it's more available. But you can still always find, if you want, can give you the Aldi look, those kosher stamps. You have the OU, circled U, and circled K, and different kosher stamps. So first of all, this makes it much, much easier. They do the job for you, so you know it's kosher or not kosher. However, if you get it into your kitchen, you have to separate meat and dairy. Everything that meat, it includes the chicken and its products, and dairy is everything dairy, not just milk, but all kinds of cheese and butter and so on. They must be separated, not just not to eat them together or not cook them together, but a kosher kitchen usually has 2 sections, the dairy side and the meat side. This is because when you cook in a pot, the taste of the food goes into the, if it comes to a certain temperature, it absorbs the taste. So if you cook something from the meat side and later you would clean it but cook something else, it will blend in chemically. It's the right. Yeah. So this is why we have 2 sets of dishes and utensils. Some more details, but this is generally how it's done.
Members of the Hasidic will not be part of the military, is that correct?
No, it's not correct. Men, you talk about Israel.
Yeah.
There are, especially the Chabad Hasidim. I know from my own family, I personally didn't. I left Israel at a younger age, but my father was very Hasidic, very Orthodox, served, and my brothers-in-law, and so on from. However, what it's done in most Hasidic communities, that we first complete the yeshiva. Yeshiva is a Jewish school. We complete the study, which can end at the age of 22, 24, depends on your study, and then we serve in the military. Some people don't like it. They say by 18 you have to be there. As I said, There's politics sometimes.
Well, let's bring it over to this country, and aren't there a lot of New York Orthodox that will not become members of the American military?
Here is volunteer. It's not a mandatory like in Israel. We have every Shabbat, every Saturday, we host a young man from Boston. He serves here in the Navy in Pensacola. He's very Orthodox. He comes to celebrate with us every week. And they are other like this.
Can you serve on a death penalty case in a criminal trial?
Again,
Can Jewish people serve, if you are called to jury duty,
yeah.
can you serve on a death penalty case, because we have death penalty in the state of Florida?
That's
And that seems to be that it'd be against number 3.
That's a very interesting question. I believe we would try the best not to be part of it. However, if there is no choice and you are there, you do the best choice you could. You can use your brain that God gave you.
Do you send your kids to public school or do you educate them at home?
My own children, I educate them at home. We actually have a beautiful system by Chabad. Since Chabad, as I mentioned before, sent messengers, and it was maybe you heard of Rabbi Schneerson. Rabbi Schneerson was the leader of Chabad, considered him the leader of the Jewish people. He lived in New York, and he, from back in the 50s, he sent emissaries all over the world, and as the time goes on, it still continues. And the reason I'm here, not maybe in New York or in Israel, be part of my own warm community, but looking for spreading and teaching, it's because of Rabbi Schneerson's call. So it is a situation that many Chabad rabbis would find themselves raising a family in a community with no Jewish schools and no resources. So they established a school about 15 years ago, 10 years ago, online school. And it's such a beautiful school that my kids used to learn, my older ones, I have an 8 years old, her and a younger sister, they used to learn in a real school in Miami. We used to live there, and they don't miss it at all. Even though they had real children to play with, and it was real, but now it's everything through the webcam, the computer. It's such a beautiful school that it's unbelievable. They have best friends, and they have report cards and homework and tests, and everything is like a real school. So we do keep them homeschooled, but we don't regret it.
So you're here, and there are not many Orthodox Jews here in this area. So you're here to maybe for people in the military who might be, or people who want to learn more about Orthodoxy,
Exactly.
but yet you wouldn't be converting people. It's more just to be
As a,
part of the community, so people are more comfortable maybe, or learn more about.
you speak about Jewish people or non-Jewish people.
Well,
If we speak, I believe most of the crowd here, or maybe all of you, who are not Jewish and you don't have such a plans, I hope. I don't recommend it to you. It's tough. We have, as what I'm doing today, and we have classes and resources, and we have so much information to share with everyone. Jewish people don't have to convert to become Orthodox. They just have to act the right way, as we believe that God, this is God, how God expects them to do orthodoxly. Yeah. So I share my knowledge, what I was taught with others, and once most likely when they understand, as I said before, they understand well, they feel well, they do it.
Do you ever feel any discrimination or anything because of your religion here in this area?
I do feel sometimes, but it just makes me stronger. Not extreme.
Explain more about the one Jewish people. You said the mother, if the mother was
It just,
Jewish,
mhm.
the children are automatically Jewish, period.
Yes. And again, if these children, all the children of, let's say it's a family with 2 boys and 2 girls, if the girls' children will be for sure Jewish, no matter who they marry. The boys' children will be Jewish only if they marry a Jewish girl.
Why is that?
This is because Judaism believes of the importance of the mother and how the mother is dedicated and to the children. I always say to my wife, "You are the homemaker. You are the maker of the family, of the home, of everything." And it is the Jewish faith that the woman. It's a whole subject for itself. We see it in the scripture, in the 40 years in the desert. I mentioned before the golden calf. It says that it was just done by men. The women did not take part of it. It is the importance of women in Judaism is very, very fundamental. And a child most likely goes by his or hers mother. This is the way they will grow. This is the way they will speak. This is the way they will conduct themselves.
So a woman is forbidden to work outside the home?
She's not forbidden, but she always has to understand, and we believe that this is the best formula for a happy marriage, for a happy home, and for a happy husband and a happy wife, that the woman understands that I spoke before about the obligation, about the mission. We are here in the world for a mission. The first obligation of the woman is the home. She can have many jobs. She can be a head of a board, of whatever company, but she can be a career lady. But first she has to be a good mother and a good wife. And if all the career and business go on the account of the home, of the family, it's worthless.
A son of a Jewish father and a Gentile mother could never have a bar mitzvah.
They can have it, they have to convert.
Well,
As long as they didn't convert,
marry
if the son did not convert, they can make the ceremony, but it's meaningless.
how do you said though that they have to marry a Jewish woman.
If a Jewish man married a non-Jewish woman and they have a son, and the son became 13 years old, and he wants to make a bar mitzvah, so we tell him, if you want to make a bar mitzvah, you have to convert and take upon yourself not just the bar mitzvah, the ceremony or the party, but you have to take upon yourself what bar mitzvah means. Bar mitzvah is, the truth is, bar mitzvah is, mitzvah in Hebrew terminology, is commandment. The celebration of bar mitzvah, people sometimes don't recognize that. So the meaning of bar mitzvah is, this is the day that the boy or the girl take upon themselves the obligation of all the laws of Judaism. So if you're not taking upon yourself the laws, what does bar mitzvah mean?
So then if they were to marry a Gentile, would they no longer be Jewish? How about a male?
The male he stays Jewish, his children will not.
Okay. But he remains Jewish.
Yeah, as I said before, if you were born Jewish, you lost.
Jewish forever.
You can't do anything about it, even if you don't like it.
What about divorce? If a Jewish man and a Jewish woman divorce, are they still Jewish? How do you treat?
Both Jewish and
Yes.
divorced, they are divorcee Jewish.
But they still
They are.
remain Jewish?
For sure.
Can
It's
they
not the, can they remarry?
And they won't be frowned upon?
They can remarry as long they didn't get married in between to someone else. If they got divorced and one of them married another spouse and divorced and they want to remarry, it's already too late, according to the laws, to the Torah.
Where is the beginning of life, or when is the beginning of life
You mean
for a child?
for a child? From day one of the pregnancy, conception.
Will they avoid naming the child for 30 days after he's born?
Actually, for a boy, after 8 days, this is when we do the circumcision, and for a girl, as soon as possible, because she doesn't have the circumcision ceremony. But we usually wait for a day when we take out the Torah scroll. We take out the Torah scroll every Monday, Thursday, Saturday, and on holidays. So the first opportunity that you have a Torah scroll, we take it out. It's a whole ceremony, and we make a special blessing for the little girl and give her the name.
2 questions. One, is your local services usually conducted in English or in your
In
own
Hebrew.
language?
In Hebrew.
And secondly, what if someone came to the regular services, what would they ordinarily see? What would it consist of?
What will be the services like?
Yes.
Our main day of services is every Saturday morning. We start with a Hasidic class, Hasidic philosophy, of 45 minutes, and then we go on to prayers, Torah reading from the Torah scroll, another prayer, and this is what it's all about. The speeches, the sermon, the classes are in English, but the service is in Hebrew. If people, not everyone in our synagogue speaks Hebrew, really familiar with it, then they can have a Hebrew-English prayer book. Yes, I think so too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for listening. Your questions were great, actually. God bless you all. Oh. They want to come. Maybe in a year.
Yes, definitely good. Yes.
Okay.